4 years ago, I made a video called Your Survival Guide to Being Single AF During the Holidays because sometimes the holiday season can be a really difficult time for people who are singles, and I created this video a few years ago to help people enjoy the holiday time while being single, because there are so many ways to enjoy while being single. However, I feel like I wanted to take it a step further because there's a whole new issue that has arisen when it comes to being single, and that is single shaming. So for this video, I wanted to do a part 2 to that video a couple years later and talk about how singles tend to get shamed during the holiday season. So if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. My name's Ilana. I've been single for 11 years. I also live in Portland, and most of my content does center around navigating life in Portland and even dating. So go ahead and subscribe down below if you feel like you can relate to that, if you're thinking about moving to Portland. So let's go ahead and talk about how to deal with being single shamed during the holidays. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have that many tips. I have about 4 things that I wanted to talk about because these are some of the most common things that do tend to come up when it comes to being single shamed during the holidays. But the first one is about making sure that you can set a boundary so your dating life and your relationship life is off the table for discussion. It is so important to tell your loved ones, family members, even friends, to say, listen, my dating life is truly just none of your business. It's something I don't want to talk about, and it's not going to be a topic of discussion, and I really hope you can respect that. Single people's dating lives are not here for your entertainment. I know I've talked about that in one of my videos before. I don't want to talk about my dating life because my dating life is not meant for your source of entertainment. Even though sometimes, yes, we may have good stories to talk about, but some of those stories can also be really traumatic for us, and sometimes we don't want to talk about bad dates to our friends. And it's just simply none of your business when you want to pry into our dating life. If you don't mind sharing, of course, then you can always go ahead and share. But if this time of the year really makes you feel some kind of way about being single, and you really just don't have the energy to talk about your dating life and why you're still single, you can seriously just set that boundary and say, my dating life is not a topic of discussion, and I hope you can respect that. And if they get really defensive about it, that says everything about them and less about you, because you're really not doing anything wrong at the end of the day. They're not entitled to know about your dating life and why you're still single. It's none of their business, and if they can't see it that way, again, that's on them. Yeah, they're probably gonna point fingers at you and call you names and tell you that you're being rude, but it's truly just a defense mechanism for them to make them sound like the victim when they're not. So don't be afraid to set that boundary, because the reaction truly has nothing to do with you. They're not entitled to your private business. So I wouldn't say if this is really related to being single shamed, but I noticed that this is a common trend that single people typically do face during the holidays. And that's the fact that single people always have to be the ones to travel to family. It's never family traveling to the single people. I think it's perfectly okay to want to do the holidays in your own home. I think it's important to say hey, the past few years, I've always had to come to you. I've always had to shell out lots of money for a plane ticket. It's getting exhausting. I can't afford that anymore. Sometimes families will be understanding if you can't afford to go in, but at the same time, what if you wanted to host a holiday event at your home? Your family gives you the excuse, oh, well, it's too far away, it's too expensive. And they make this excuse every year. It's absolutely not fair to you, because then they guilt you for living far away when, yes, even though you made that choice to live far away, at the same time, it wouldn't hurt your family members to start saving money to go ahead and book a plane ticket or even drive somewhere to spend holidays with you. If you feel like you're being guilted into always having to be the one to shell out a ton of money to go visit your family during the holidays, you have every right to say, no, I will not be there, because you won't make the time or the effort to come see me for once, especially when I wanted to plan something for the holidays. What if I wanted to host you guys for the holidays? And the fact that you turned that down, that can be really hurtful to some people. So I say, spend the holidays by yourself or at your own place, and maybe have your local friends, or if you have local family in that area, spend it with you instead, because single people are always the ones that have to bend over backwards for people in couples, for people who live far away and are the ones always hosting the events, and they never want to be flexible to you. It's really not fair. And this isn't about saying like, oh, this is about me. It's about the fact that we're always the ones that have to spend the money, and we're always the ones that have to bend out backwards. Why can't you reciprocate that same energy to us? Because we're always the ones that have to put in the effort to come see you. And that's where it's off balance and it doesn't feel fair. And a lot of single people do feel shamed and get a lot of pressure for always having to bend over backwards and always getting guilt tripped when they give a reason as to why they don't want to travel maybe across the country because of expenses, or they're tired of it and they maybe want their family to come see them for a chance. It's really not fair, and I think there should be an equal balance in those kinds of things, or start taking turns. But when people don't want to be flexible, yeah, it gets really hurtful. So those are some things you can do. Yeah, it can be a hard decision to make, but just know that for the sake of your own well-being and even bank account, I think it's gonna be okay. Let's talk about gift giving really quick, because I always feel like there's this expectation that single people always have to be the ones to give gifts to multiple family members. And when it comes to couples, the couples always tend to be the ones that give a gift together, but the single person is expected to give a gift to both members of the relationship. In what way is that fair? If you can't afford to do a gift for every single person, then don't feel guilty about not being able to give gifts. Personally, I rarely give my family members individual gifts for the holidays. I think there was one year for Hanukkah I was able to give my family members gifts because I had money for it. But I'll be honest, even with my job now, I still really can't afford to give my family presents, especially with the fact that they live across the country and I really don't want to be the one to have to ship multiple things and paying all of that shipping. I think my family is definitely very understanding of that, but there are many families who are not understanding, and sometimes we need to be mindful of people's financial situations. You don't always have to be giving gifts for people. If you have the money for it and you want to do it, then by all means, please do it. But do not ever let someone make you feel guilty for not getting them a gift because they don't know your financial situation. So set those boundaries and don't be afraid to tell people that you can't afford to give gifts this year, or you're tired of maybe being the one who always gets gifts and then you don't get anything in return. And I think, the thing is, when it comes to giving gifts, you should never expect anything in return. But at the same time, I do think it's very unfair when couples will give a gift to their single friend together when that expectation is placed on you to give each people in the couple a separate gift. If they're gonna play that game, then you say here's one present that can be shared between the two of you, and that way they can understand that feeling. Don't be expected to give gifts, especially if you can't afford it. And here's the last thing. If you know your family is going to single shame you, because this kind of goes back to point number 2, don't spend the holidays with your family. Maybe spend the holidays by yourself. I have spent most of my Hanukkahs by myself, and I really like it. Like, I don't feel lonely, I don't feel sad, because I'm the kind of person who knows how to find things to do to keep myself occupied. I also have friends. I've even gone out of my way to celebrate Hanukkah with them and share my holiday traditions with them. And they get to share their holiday traditions with me, and it's a very beautiful thing. If you know that your family is going to make your single life an absolute living hell by the constant single shaming, wanting to bring up your single status as a topic of discussion, having them try to set you up with people, you have every right to avoid it. I think sometimes the best thing to do is to just not spend the holidays with your family. I think solitude can be a very beautiful thing, especially during the holiday season, because there are so many great things that you can do by yourself. Holidays are for everyone, regardless of their relationship status. and I can guarantee you that you can find something really awesome to do. Like, take yourself out on a little holiday date. Last week, I went to the Palm Court in the Benson Hotel, and I treated myself to an espresso martini and a delicious grilled cheese sandwich with all the holiday scenery in the hotel lobby, and it was so wonderful. And I absolutely loved how I was treated by their wonderful wait staff, and I had a great time on my own, and I'm not embarrassed about it. I'm not ashamed about it. So I really suggest giving it a try and take yourself on a little holiday date and do something for yourself this holiday season. I know this was a shorter video and there weren't that many tips to share because I feel like that's probably the extent that comes with being single shamed during the holidays regarding family and sometimes even friends. But I really hope this can help you take more control of your mental well-being and your single status, and not letting people make it sound like being single during the holidays is this sad, lonely, bad thing when it's perfectly normal and you're still very much a valid person. If you felt like you could relate to this, or you feel like you want to give this a try this holiday season, do make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!